Billy, you are up next, sir. How you doing? So you got a call here from Jacksonville?
I do. I do.
Oh, this is a non-hand call or what?
Yes, correct.
Oh yeah,
This
okay.
is a etiquette type thing.
Okay. So I just want to give you a heads. I don't actually know. I do remember this story. So let's just go over it real quick. Go ahead. Tell me what happened here.
Okay, so do you want me to go through like the hand history?
You can do that very, very quickly because I think it pertains to the story. Yeah.
It does. So I have 9-10 in the cutoff. Heroes 9-10 in the cutoff, and I make it $20 pre-flop.
Okay. To 20. And how deep are you guys? And what's the game?
2-5, 1,000 cap, and we're 950 effective.
At Jacksonville Best Bet.
Yes.
One of the best 2-5 games in the world. You're 1,000 effective?
Yep.
All right. So you go to
950 effective.
950 effective, and you go to 20 here with 910 in the cutoff. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
And villain calls on the small blind.
And your heads up.
Yes.
All right. So V1 calls in small blind, heads up. Okay.
Flop comes 9-9 jack with 2 spades.
9-9 jack with 2 spades. So you flop trips.
Correct.
Jack 9-9 spade. Okay.
The villain checks to me. I bet 15, and he calls.
Small blind checks, hero 15, and villain calls. By the way, just as a note, I would go larger here. I know that you have a 9, but it's one of these boards where with the spades and the straight draw, like you're not going to get action from small pairs anyways. So I know it seems like you're probably trying to think, sometimes we flop trips and we're like, oh my God. But this is actually a texture, which is much different than like if it came out like 9-9 deuce rainbow, where I actually would go larger. But here goes 15. Villain 1 calls, and pot's like 70 and change, right?
Sounds right.
Yep. Okay.
Turn is the 5 of hearts.
Okay.
He checks. I bet 60.
Mm-hmm.
And then he raises to 200.
Small blind raises to 200.
And I call.
And hero calls. And I think that that's probably okay, just because you don't have, obviously, the best 9. The thing is that I would be thinking about here in this spot, just from a poker perspective, is that it would be very... depending, unless the guy has been shown to be super passive, I would tend to discount pocket jacks because that should be 3-bet pre-flop. So if he's representing a 9 here, or somehow he peeled with like pocket 5s because you went so small, you're behind. I mean, you're behind everything except for like 8-9 here. That's like a legitimate type of VPIP. So if he's making a play, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to fold right now. I'm going to call and see what's going on, but I think calling is perfectly fine. 470 here to the river, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And this is where the fun starts. So the river is a queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs on the river. So the board is Jack 9-9 2 spades, turns a 5 of hearts, and the river's the queen of clubs. Okay.
So probably not great for me, but either way, I'm at this point, I'm in the 3 seat and he's in the 6 seat. And there's 2 people in between, so it's, that tough spot to kind of see.
So you're in that like kind of corner where the 3 seat is kind of like as far back from the dealer as possible. And then the guy in the 6, if there's sort of a 5, can sort of, you get blocked, right, from what he's kind of doing, right?
Exactly. This is an 8-handed game, but still, you're kind of blocked. So
yeah.
Either way, he reaches for a stack of greens and puts it out and sets it down. I perceive it to be
like a $500 bet or something or just a half.
I perceive it to be like 275, 325 range. Okay.
Yeah.
Dealer is doing one of those things like, every dealer, some guys like, bet in the 2 seat, check in the 3 seat, etc., etc. Dealer turns to me and points at him and says, bet.
Turns to you and points to him and says, he bet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No all-in chip thrown out.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there. I probably make too quick of decisions than I should. Hemming and hawing. I'm not going to fold for what I appear to be 275, 300. Okay. So I throw in a chip and say call.
So you say call. Okay.
Yep. And I threw in a $5 chip.
Okay.
Okay. This point, the dealer turns back to him, to the villain, and the villain kind of starts to reveal his hand and simultaneously like count his chips. And the dealer says something along the lines of like, like, were you all in? Something, there's confusion
Mm,
essentially about what's going on.
mhm.
The guy says, yeah, I'm all in. The guy to his left, who I've played with before in bigger games, says, yeah, I heard him say all in. The dealer stops right there and immediately says floor. Calls over this floor person, and the floor person is very aggressive. What's going on? What's going on? The dealer says, this guy says, he says all in. I didn't hear him. I announced bet, and this guy called. And the floor person asked the person to his left, hey, what'd you hear? And the guy says, I heard all in. And then she asked another person, what'd you hear? He says, I heard all in. She asked the third person on that side of the table. He says, I wasn't paying attention.
Mhm.
Okay, so the person quickly says, okay, it's an all in bet. He owes the all in bet. So I've been in.
Wait a minute. I have to interrupt you. There's no way you can. There's no way you can. First of all, are there all-in chips there? Do they have all-in buttons?
Yes, they do. Big red buttons.
I can't. There's no way that they can make you owe all in. Which, by the way, if you guys started at $950, right, it's over a pot size bet, right? It's like 600, something like. No,
I think it's like 700.
Right. How can they make you call an all-in bet especially with what the dealer did?
I agree. So I've been playing live poker for on and off for a long time, and so in these situations, I just kind of sit tight and haven't said anything at this point.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting ready to speak up, and the dealer and a person next to me go, whoa. The dealer goes, I didn't hear all in. I announced bet. I didn't throw all in. And the person next to me says, I also didn't hear all in. We all thought it was a bet. And so then the floor person, whoa, finally asked me what happened. I said, the guy's down there. I can barely see him.
Right.
He put out chips in front of him. I threw in the call because that's what I thought. So then she goes, well, and so this part's important. So as all this commotion's going, before the floor guy comes over, the guy tables his hand.
Okay, so he tables his hand. This is before they called the floor guy, or
so the dealer says floor, and then at all the commotion, the guy's counting his chips, and he kind of like just drops his hand down because he thinks it's over.
Okay, so before the floor came over and made a decision, yes, this is an important part of the part of the story. He tables his hand, and what does he have?
He has Jack 9.
Okay, so you're beaten. You're beaten right now. You can see his hand.
Correct.
You can see his hand, but now you didn't know that it was an all-in. You thought that it was 275 to 325. And to sum this up in a bow, the dealer definitely made it indicate like that because you're looking over there and she says bet, and you're looking, it was like 275 to 375 or 325, as a lot of people in the live chat are rightly pointing out. A way to protect yourself, of course, against this type of thing. I don't even know if an angle is being played. It could just be a misunderstanding, obviously. I would always ask how much. You know what I'm saying? I would always ask how much, because it sounds to me like the bet probably wasn't all that clear if they're sort of allowing him to say like all in. Maybe he was fumbling with his chips and sort of made like a stack in front of his cards or something like that. Is that accurate?
No, so he just picked up it was all the greens he had, and so I just thought it was a bet, and he placed them out in front.
Oh, but he's saying he whispered all in. I got you.
Yeah, and so it was 100% my error by not, to your point, saying how much, but I just thought it was he places green chips out, I call green chips. He admitted later it was also his fault. He didn't announce it, and they didn't throw the all in chip. He should have been aware. So now the floor person, I see he's got a boat. The floor person goes, you owe nothing. It's your turn to call an all-in bet.
I thought you said the floor ruled it an all-in.
She did, but then she heard my side of the story and the dealer side of the story and said, oh, the dealer didn't hear an all-in either. He didn't throw out the all-in.
Oh, wow.
She goes, you owe nothing. It's your turn to call an all-in bet. And again, normally, if I hadn't seen his cards, I think this ruling would have made more sense. But now that I see his cards, it's like I'm not calling off my stack.
Well, okay. So she had said initially, blah, 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 it's an all-in. But then, as I've told people, you stood up for yourself and actually explained what happened. And now she said, oh, okay, actually, it's not an all-in. The action is on you. But now you see the guy's hand. And you're like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? Right?
100%. And I'm like, I truly don't think I would have called the 750 flat all in.
I'll tell you what. First, I'll tell you what I would do. I'll tell you what I would do. And again, it's probably up to, and many people would be like, oh, it's all cutthroat poker. I don't think you owe the all in. I think I would give the guy the amount that I thought I was calling. That's what I think I would do. Not the all in. There's no way I'm going to give an all in. But I think that I would give the amount that I thought that I was calling. Before you tell me what you did, I just want to point something out here in the live chat. Mad Mardigan 21 says, the floor should never ask the players. Mad Mardigan 21, you must have never played in Southern California before, because there were many times first of all, at Commerce, 75% of the dealers could not speak fluent English, and there was no hope to figure out what an actual situation like this, what actually happened, unless the floor actually asked the players. When I was playing full-time at Commerce 510, I would try to mediate these situations. When I saw something happen and the dealer was not, even if I wasn't in the hand, I'd be like, Serge, I don't know if he's still a floor guy there. I'd be like, can I tell you what happened? And I was respected. And I would try to tell it as, even if I wasn't involved, like as straight as what happened. And usually I would get it where, I'd to ask the two guys that were involved in the pot, do you agree that that was actually what happened? And they'd be like, yes. That's the only way that it would get conveyed and properly. So yeah, the floor has to ask the players sometimes what happened if the dealer is not properly conveying. That's what I would tell you. That's what I would do personally, but you have every right to not pay off anything, but they can't force you to pay an all in. I wouldn't pay all in.
Yeah, I didn't think paying the all in was right. And so I asked the dealer count up the bet. He counted up, I think it was 300, and I put $300 on top of my cards face down. I folded my hands, and then I paid the guy. And then afterwards...
So you did exactly what I said that I would have done.
I did exactly what you said. Yeah. I've been watching your videos for a while, so I wanted to make sure I appeased the poker gods. But then the floor person, taps me on the shoulder afterwards and says, hey, can I talk to you for a second? You didn't have to do that. I was trying to give you an out, and and it was a little strange. And honestly, I was thinking about the owing the part, and with his hand up, it makes it tricky. But I was thinking about if he was bluffing. I kind of could see why they wouldn't make me owe the 275, because bluffing there and the 275's committed, then I'm more enticed to call. So I was a little curious on your thoughts on like the ruling of should my 300 be stuck, or kind of that back and forth there.
Oh, you mean like if he turned his hand over and it was a bluff?
No, let's say I didn't see his hand,
right,
and he was on a spade draw.
Right.
And he goes all in there, and I think I calls 275, and the floor person comes over and says, "You're 275 stuck. Do you want to call the remainder of the all in, or whatever the other solution would be?" I would just more my question is, do you agree with me not having to pay that 300 that I thought I called?
I don't think that they could ever rule that your 275 is. Could they ever rule that your 275 is stuck? Almost like a tournament when somebody doesn't know like an amount.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But to the poker guys, I meant to call the 300, so that's what I gave the guy. But I was thinking about it afterwards both ways.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Like, I don't know if I want to give him the pot odds. Like, it's it was just interesting. I mean, him revealing his hand obviously makes this obvious, but it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would just I'd have to think about that. What you're saying, I didn't even think that deep about that. Like that somehow you could almost get like angle in a weird spot. This is if he didn't reveal his hand.
I don't know if it'd ever even be an angle, and more just it would how the rule could benefit you one way or the other. I
weird
guess.
Spot, but I would just quell that floor lady or floor guy just being like, "Listen, fine, you made the right ruling. I don't mean I would just be like, I was going to call this amount, so I did. I know I'm not forced to. I don't mean to make you look bad if that is what they were like. They were taking him back. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's what I would do. But I would have done the same thing. That's an interesting one though, for sure. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.